How we doing there, boys and girls? Manthieus here and welcome back to another video. Yesterday I planted the seed that if you're having a hard time with crafting, there is light at the end of the tunnel through a slightly different method, which I'm, for one, certainly not too well known for promoting, and that's farming. Picking up a herbalist and a miner and just casually strolling around the place picking up herbs and ore. I put forward that it's still actually a pretty good way to make gold. Now, the way that YouTube tends to work is you often see these big flashy titles, 100,000 gold an hour gets thrown about all over the place, and that's to kind of showcase to you what is possible. But what I wanted to do today is look at it from a slightly more modest perspective and say, well, what is a little bit more realistic? What can you achieve without going full into min-maxing, without going to have, you know, without needing specialist 2x4 groups, without having lots of knowledge points available at your disposal? What can any regular Joe quite easily achieve? Now, I've always had this number in my head of about 30,000 gold an hour is what I suspect most people can do quite comfortably, quite easily. But I wanted to test that, so that's what we did on stream today. And I wanted to go through sort of what happened. We started off, we jumped onto this Druid. I have a level 67 Druid that is actually leveled up almost entirely just through herbalism and mining so far in Dragonflight. One thing I want to make super clear is this was about as scuffed as it could possibly be. While I do have some very basic profession tools, I do not have mountains of knowledge points, nor have I spent them in a particularly optimal way. We talked about this a little bit on stream today, and I got the feedback from a few people, and very quickly people were suggesting that the mastering of the elements tree for both mining and herbalism actually is the go-to, is very much the go-to, and this is because the rousing elements and the awakened elements is where the lion's share of your gold can quite quickly come from, especially if you're hitting those Titan touch nodes. So I'm not really in a good position whatsoever to be making the big bucks here. I have spent some points, but I've spent them badly. For example, I've put 40 points into botany. I did this because it gives me the ability to gather herbs whilst mounted. This is a benefit, true, but was it worth 40 points when I probably only have 50 or 60 points in total to spend? No, probably not. You can probably spend those 40 points far more efficiently than what I have done. Namely, maybe putting them in this tree instead. But this isn't meant to be a video about how to min-max the spec trees for the gathering. This is really to showcase to you guys that with very little effort, with very little actual optimization, you can still pull some reasonable numbers from farming. So much so that to achieve the same through crafting right now, you'd have to be doing something remarkably special. We did some testing on stream. If I bring up the... we started over in the Waking Shores. I'll leave a link to the VOD for this if you want to watch it yourself. I deliberately did it all on stream and recorded it and tried to make it a little bit scientific. We did track what we looted. Emptied bags, started in the Waking Shores, did not follow a route, did not really do anything too specialist. The only one thing I did try was I tried to ignore Ceravite nodes and Hockenbloom nodes. These, I feel, take up a lot of your time when gathering. They use, you have to use Vigor to take off again. And they are the cheapest nodes by far. Hockenbloom and Ceravite, unless they have a prefix to them. If they have a prefix like Rich or Titan Touched or Frigid or Windswept or whatever the prefixes are for the herbs, then if it's Hockenbloom or Ceravite, go pick it up. But outside of that, I kind of tended to ignore those. We did a bunch of flying around. We didn't do it in any particular order. We tracked what we looted. This little add-on for people is actually part of the Worth It add-on. The Worth It add-on has this little recorder that allows you to at least track what you're looting. So it makes it quite easy to track how much gold you're potentially making. This is, of course, looted item value, not strictly the amount of gold you'll make when you sell it, but we'll talk about the selling process in a minute. We flew around. We did nothing overly special. I was streaming. I was chatting to you guys at the same time. I certainly wasn't concentrating anywhere near as I could do. And by the end of the hour, if I can quickly get to where the end of the hour is, it's around here somewhere, 57 minutes in, 59 minutes, 55 seconds. Let's see, can we make this a bit bigger? Maybe I'll go full screen mode ever so quickly just to make it a bit clearer. We ended up after an hour with a little over 31,000 gold worth of stuff. Real simple, real straightforward. 30k, no problems, no real optimizations done here. Still plenty of gold, right? You're not going to need to do this for too many hours and your tokens paid for, or those big fancy pieces of expensive gear that you want to buy can be covered. No problems whatsoever. I think actually later on in the video, here we go. I sorted it by item value, and the number one thing that made us actually a third of the gold was Rousing Order. This gives me more of an indication that speccing into the Master of the Elements tree is the way to go, when potentially a third of the value is coming from just Rousing Order, which you can obviously choose to turn into Awakened Order if that conversion adds extra value to it. You can do such. Now, I would want to also point out that if you're looking at the auction house prices today, the day this video goes live, Rousing Order is tanking in value. And this is what people are complaining about. They're like, oh, farming's dead. The prices are tanking. You can't make gold with it anymore. It's ridiculous. But I hope this at least goes to show that, you can still make 30,000 gold an hour, which is more than reasonable. To try and do the equivalent with crafting right now, let's assume that you wanted to make 30,000 gold in an hour from crafting. You would actually probably more likely need to be selling about 200 to 250,000 gold worth of stuff on the auction house. There's a lot of risk involved with that, let's not forget. You've got to buy those materials, you've got to spend time converting them into items, you've got to have your specialization in place to make this profitable in the first place, and even if it is profitable, you have to be dealing with a really, really large quantity. It means that crafting at the moment is super competitive, and the honest truth is, for most of you guys out there, I would suspect that actually it's super duper mega risky. A dum-dum like me picking up a druid who has basically no experience and is not doing anything specialist in any way, shape or form with the gathering professions, still was able to pull 30-odd thousand gold out of just a single hour's worth of playtime very, very quickly, very, very easily. So I hope this gives you a little bit more confidence that if you do choose to go the farming route, even when you're not doing anything overly special, you can still make a fair amount of gold. Just to clarify then, before we do close it up for this video, I wanted to just showcase that the value that I was presenting there is obviously looted item value. And I'm the biggest critic out there for saying that, well, it doesn't matter how much it is valued at when you loot it. It only really matters once you've sold it and once you've actually made the gold from it. Now, I might be a little bit late to this. Yeah, most of it is sold already. We posted it the second we finished that. We posted it all on the auction house. The only things that haven't sold so far is a little bit of Draconium ore and a little bit of Kazgarite ore. A couple of thousand gold worth. If I go to the mailbox, though, we should be able to loot it and we should be able to see how much is in the mailbox. We actually ended up selling 25,000 gold of it almost instantly. Super fast, no problems whatsoever. You can see the big ticket item there is the Rousing Order. We ended up selling that for 9,000 gold. This is obviously after the auction house has had its cut as well. Anything you sell in the auction house is going to steal 5% of it. So you've got to kind of take that into consideration as well a little bit. But 25,000 gold. It's not going to make anybody a millionaire super quickly. But with very little effort, with very little specialization, with almost seemingly no optimizations, we very quickly came to the conclusion that if you have a good route and you have spent your knowledge points in somewhat of a sensible way, and maybe you've got like your profession tools even, you know, yeah, let's get the basics covered, and you sort of, you know, you optimize this a little bit, you could probably quite easily double this without really any issues at all. And I suspect the people that have been chugging away at herbalism and mining for a few weeks now have probably got it down and are probably pushing 50, 60, 70, 80,000 gold an hour still, even to this day. So, yeah, do with that information as you wish, boys and girls. I just wanted to showcase that after yesterday's video where I sort of suggested many people to maybe take a look at farming if they're struggling with crafting, I thought I should try and probably back that up with a little bit of information. Like I said, I'll leave a link to the VOD down below if you want to check that out and you want to watch the session and hear me talk about it in a little bit more detail. I'll leave that link down below. But I'll leave it there for today. I hope that was helpful to you, at least in some part. If you know, taking this approach is interesting to you, let me know in the comments down below. We might try to start to optimize this a little bit over the next few videos, over the next few days. Maybe look at the spec trees in more detail and try and find out maybe actually where is a good way to spend these points. Is there some points that you should definitely take? Is there some that you should maybe avoid? What can we do to optimize the gathering a little bit more so? Let's break it down in a bit more detail and let's hopefully get everybody a little bit richer because of it. But yes, I'll leave it there for today. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. Consider subscribing if you're new around here, and I'll catch you all next time. Peace.